Hello and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I am Michael Gracia. I have a really fun Get in Tune tonight. I've been looking forward to talking to my guest for a while. I've been following him since I've found out about his work. Unfortunately, at the moment, I do not own any, and I hope to change that very soon. He's got a Kickstarter coming out very soon that we're going to talk about, and I'm going to give you a little warning. Some of tonight's themes, some of tonight's themes may tend to go towards the mature based on the comic that he has that we're going to talk about. But that's fine. I'm okay. That's cool. I'm just giving a little warning if there's any youngings out there that don't want to hear about this stuff. So let me bring on my guest. I got a classic animator and comic book artist, John Celestri.
Hi,
Hello,
Michael.
John. Hi, John.
How you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm fine. So here we are.
Yes, here we are. I've been really looking forward to chatting with you. Before I discovered you were a comic artist, I actually found your YouTube channel and subscribed. I'm an animator myself. I haven't done it in years professionally, but I'm a trained animator. I did mostly computer 2D, like Flash work in the 90s and 2000s and type stuff, but I am a classically trained animator as well, and I sometimes just love watching people do it. And when I found you, I just thought it was great watching your stuff. And I believe on there is when I found out you were a comic artist, and I tried to start following you on social media. So first off, thank you for coming on. I'm looking forward to this. Alfred is in the comments there. Good morning from Dublin, Ireland. So thank you for tuning in. I know we got a time difference there, so I'm happy you're.
Good morning. That's it. You must be about 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning there.
Really? I did not know that was the time difference.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I got to be honest. I haven't left the East Coast of the U.S. in my entire life. So.
Oh, geez, you missed a lot. I mean, I left New York City in 1977, and I lugged my drawing board table and light box from one end of the continent to the other. So.
Well, I'll tell you a story. I was going to leave in 2005 with a friend of mine. I was finishing up my master's. And I was like, let's just go out to California. Let's go do it. Let's see what we can do out there art-wise. And then I met my wife, and I stayed.
There you go.
But I've been everywhere from Maine to Florida, a few times. And I love the East Coast. I would like to see more of the country though, and even more of outside the U.S. if I can. So, he says it's 1:34 a.m. right now.
That's 5 hours difference. There you go.
Wow. Okay, cool. Good to know. I'm very bad with those things. My wife is actually good with those time differences, not me though. But so you've been doing this for a while, being a professional artist. You mentioned you grew up in New York and you left. And before I get into the stuff you're doing now, which I really enjoy looking at, I just like to always know a little bit about my guests' past. What got you into cartooning? Who were some of your influences that inspired you to pursue an art career?
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to be a comic book artist, and that's when I first started. I mean, the first time I did anything was seeing a relative from Bel Air, Ohio, come in, and visit us in Brooklyn, and he drew me Mickey Mouse, and I must have been about 3.5, 4 years old, and from that point on, boom, I wanted to do cartooning. That's what I wanted.
Yeah,
and then I wanted to be a comic book artist, and I wanted to draw. I studied all the stuff on the newspapers, and I wanted to be a sports cartoonist. In fact, when I went to Fordham, I did some of the athletic department's guides and brochures and things like that. So following Willard Mullen's style. Willard Mullen was a sports cartoonist, from the 30s and 40s and 50s. He was still working in the 60s, and so I'm 71 years old. So I could see his stuff, not just in repeats. He was one of those big. He worked for the New York what was it? The Herald Tribune, I think, or what have you. Anyway, that was the days of the big broad sheets, and so you'd have of 16 columns wide, you can have a big drawing and whatnot. He was great. Yeah. So anyway, I learned I wanted to be a cartoonist. Unfortunately, my folks didn't want me to be that. It was just like I'm Sicilian. It's like, what do you? Artists starve. Artists starve. So therefore, find something else. So I went to Xavier. Went to Xavier as a high school guy. One of those subway commandos during the '60s. I went to Fordham. I was trying to work my way through. And so what am I going to do with myself? And I just went from one end to the other, one major to another. This is the '60s, and I wanted to stay in college so that I wouldn't get into the draft.
Yeah.
Anyway, but once that was over with, I rediscovered animation in terms of saying, okay, this was at Alice Tully Hall. I went there to just see the 50th anniversary retrospective of Disney. So that's like 1972, 73. And I saw Peter Pan.
Oh, I love that.
And it was like, boom, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's how I got into it.
Yeah. I gotta say, Peter Pan is one of my favorite Disney films. He's actually one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. Love him, and I have a bit of a shelf devoted to some Peter Pan figures, which I can't show right now because of the way it is. But it's on my bookcase in front of some books or some Peter Pan figures and things. And,
well, I always wanted to be I was always intrigued. Comic books, animation, it was all of the same sort of thing. But I also wanted to act. I wanted to write. I wanted to do all kinds of things. But I didn't want to be an electrical engineer. I didn't want to be an architect. That wasn't in my bones. I never went to art school, so I taught myself everything.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And let me ask, because animation is a difficult thing. How did you learn, if you didn't take it in school, how did you learn to animate?
Well, what it is, if you remember, they have the Super 8 millimeter, sound and whatnot. Yeah. I had a hand what I did was I bought a whole bunch of those home movies, those releases back in the '70s. They had little snippets from Pinocchio, from Snow White, and so on and so forth. And I just started, studying it, cranking it out, watching it frame by frame on the little moviola.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and there wasn't much information back then about animation. There were no. I took a 6-week. Well, it was 6 classes. It was one night a week. It was a summer course at SVA, School of Visual Arts, in 1974. And so 73, 74. Yeah. And so I did that, and it was taught by an old Gil Moret. He was an animator, layout person from Terry Toons, and he was teaching us. And I'd never drawn. I just knew that I could draw. I could capture motion. The reason I did that, I had a job. I worked at the New York Athletic Club on their magazine staff from about 1970 to 1974, and one of my jobs this was towards the end of that, I was sent down to do some illustrations of the fencing team. And I was doing really quick sketches. Yeah. Now, I didn't know about quick sketches. I just drew as fast as I could and get captured. And the editor said, "This is great. This is what you know how to do. You can capture movement. Like 30-second sketches and whatnot." So I learned that, and that's how I got into it. And then seeing Ellie going to Alice Tully Hall, I said, "This is what I want to do." And then I found that they had the 6-week course, the one night a week. during the summertime at SVA. That's how I learned the mechanics. And I bought the animation, the Preston Blair book.
Yep, still got my copy.
Okay, and basically that the 50th anniversary edition of Disney with showing all the drawings there.
Yeah,
that's all I had.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had to teach, to learn, and so I taught myself that the ability to draw and in between and whatnot. And finally, I wound up being because I dragged my portfolio from one commercial house to the other in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
I made friends with some of the older guys, and they said, "Okay, well, there is this over at New York Institute of Technology. They're doing a thing called Tubby the Tuba, and they're trying to get young people, you know." So I hauled my butt out from Coney Island all the way to Old Westbury, Long Island. I would take the subway to get up to Penn Station, and then take the Long Island Railroad and out to there. Then hop a school bus and get there. It was if you put it in together, it was 4.5 hours round trip every day.
Yeah. That's
and I did that for 14 months every day.
Wow.
But I learned it from. I learned. That was the master classes, because they had all Popeye and Mighty Mouse animators from the Terry Toons and Fleischers. So you had Johnny Gentilella, who was the best Popeye animator. Mm-hmm. You know, Marty Taris was there. A bunch of other old animators, and I learned all the mechanics from them.
Wow.
I know. So that was the different class. I learned basically the old traditional way of going through apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And from there, I was able to go, after that, went into Richard Williams, the Raggedy Ann and Andy, because they were gearing up for a studio. They were doing a studio work in Manhattan. So that was my.
That's awesome. I got to say just one thing, because you mentioned how you would look at the 8mm reels and stuff. When I was a kid, I was born in '76, and I would record cartoons on my VHS and try to play them back in slow motion to try to figure out. It wasn't the same. But my father used to do those video transfers where you take old 18mm and put them onto videotape for families. And I got to see some old cartoons, and I've actually looked at them. I remember I believe it was a Woody Woodpecker. It was a silent Woody Woodpecker cartoon where, like, I think it was Woody Woodpecker, where it would cut to the words, on the black, white words and stuff.
Well, if you didn't have sound, it would be there's Super 8 that had sound, and then there was 8mm that did not have the sound. Yeah. And so what would happen is that for Super 8, it was 24 frames per second. Yeah. Regular, just it would be 16mm or what have you. You would do it at 16 frames per second. Yeah. So when you're looking at a video, just a little classic thing here. What would happen is that video runs at 30 frames per second. Yes. So what happens is, what they would do is they would take the 24 frames per second and then add, because they needed to fill in space, it really depended upon what the program was like, but they would then, to fill in the extra 6 frames necessary, every third frame they would create another frame that was a double exposure of the 2 frames.
Oh, wow.
So that's what would happen. So if you're studying video, you don't get true frame. You don't get the true sense of what the frame exposures would be.
That's interesting. I didn't even realize that, at the time. I mean, now I understand, but but when I was doing it, it wasn't until I was about 13 years old. I mean, I had the Preston Blair book, but it wasn't until I was about 13 when I saw like a behind the scenes of The Little Mermaid. that I understood how studio animation was done and stuff. But anyway, we're kind of sidetracking here.
Yes, okay.
No, it's great. I love it. I'm sure I can sit and talk to you about animation for hours. But we have other stuff. I just curious, comic wise, because you're doing a lot of comics now. Who were some of your comic influences that you really enjoyed?
For me, it was Wayne Boring, who I worked with on Tubby the Tuba.
Okay.
He was there. Wayne Boring did Superman. He was the first guy to be hired on by Siegel and Schuster.
Really? Oh yeah. Okay, I know who you're talking
about. They were Cleveland boys, so he was living there, and so he was hired on there. Obviously, Jack Kirby, Joe Kubert, and Walt Kelly.
Oh yeah.
Later on, as I got, it was Eisner and the Spirit.
Oh yeah, Eisner. I had a guy on who a few weeks ago, a friend of mine, Ray, who we just talked about Eisner for like a good half hour on here. We're both huge fans. I mean, I think he named everybody who I think.
Don't forget C.C. Beck.
Oh yes, his Captain Marvel stuff just.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So you've got that element, and as I said before, Willard Mullen.
Yeah.
If you look at all of that, there's a wide range, but what they are not, and I'll put on my little professor hat, they are not realistic. They are believable, but they are not super realistic stuff. So why do you need a realism if it's a comic book?
I love that you said that. I have taught college and I teach kids and everything. I've done it for years, right? In addition to doing my art professionally, I'm an educator. And the one thing I've always pushed in my classes was believability over reality. Make it believable. I'm like, you can watch a Bugs Bunny cartoon and believe that Bugs exists in that world.
Yeah.
Even if the background's super stylized, you believe it. Why do you believe it? That's what you want to have in your comics and your character. I'm so glad you said that. I love that you said that.
Well, that's it. I'm a cartoonist. I'm not an illustrator.
Yeah,
I can draw. If you look at the material that I've done, which is I do caricatured reality, which is what animation is. Comic books are caricatured reality because you're being an artist, and so therefore you have to make you're making a statement about something. If you are not making a statement, then you're just reproducing something that already exists.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I consider myself the same way. Sometimes I know people like the word illustrator, so I say I'm a cartoon illustrator over an actual illustrator. But I consider myself a cartoonist too. I just want to say hi to Mike Wilkie in the comments there. He says, "Good evening, guys."
Hi, Mike.
Mike is he's actually been a guest on my Saturday storytelling shows. He does great single panel gags that I just love. So thanks for tuning in and watching, Mike. Now you've worked on some in the animation world, some really popular characters. You worked on Dragon's Lair. You worked on Space Ace. You worked on He-Man and She-Ra. So you've worked for some big companies. But one of the things that your claim to fame is being the first guy to animate Boba Fett in the what was it, 1977?
It was 1978. It was the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Can you tell us, just since there are so many Star Wars fans out there, how did you get the gig animating Boba Fett?
Well, I was working in Toronto at the studio that was hired on to do the Star Wars Holiday Special. And I was there after being on Raggedy Ann and Andy. I had been hired on. I got my first chops really as my diploma as an animator. I got when I was hired by Friz Freleng to work for him on at the Patty Freleng after Raggedy Ann and Andy. So that was my official. The dean says, "Here, you're an animator. Go crank out some footage for me."
Yeah.
Which is different from being an assistant or an in-betweener or a cleanup person. There are two different things. Anyway, so I was working at Nelvana in Toronto, and I was supposed to do the villain of the previous show that we were working on called The Devil and Daniel Mouse, and I was supposed to do the devil. Things happen. I wound up having to switch over to doing the lead Dan Mouse and Jan Mouse. So that had a lot to do with music and whatnot. So therefore, that was I grabbed hold of Boba Fett when we found out that we were going to do that, because I said, okay, I need the villain. You owe me. That's how I got it.
Oh, that's all. I mean, that's great. I mean, you proved yourself. You asked for it, and you got it. I mean, that's fantastic. That just goes to show what hard work can do. And since that was I don't remember, was that his technically his first real appearance, or
on screen?
On screen, right?
Yeah. Well, there might have been there was a parade that the costume was in. But in terms of actually the appearance, the first time you actually saw him as a cartoon or in any dramatic manner, it was that.
So the costume, I mean, I know Lucas, has someone design the costume. How much costume or character design did you get, or did you have to do any designs, or your people do designs to tone it down from?
Well, there were two things. We had a black and white video showing the character walking. The sound man wearing the suit and walking through, and we were just it was a white stormtrooper, idea, but the helmet and then the backpack and all of this stuff. But it was just black and white, And so that was basically the design, but the instructions were given to the studio that they wanted him, Boba, to follow the pattern of Mobius in heavy metal. Okay. That design work. So, and also everything about the comic book had to feel like a Mobius comic.
Okay.
So therefore, you could see, if you look at the color palette, it's very similar. It's very bright. It's very, it's very evocative, and also the simplicity of the line. Mobius is, his work in that period of time. You're talking about 1977, 76, 77, 78. It was very, very simple, but yet you had to know what you were leaving out.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. So that the design was done. I had flat. A couple of a front and back and rear, sideways, and what have you. And then in taking that, I added some elements here and there to it. But in rotation, in movement, I gave them the gestures. Rotating how the body would work. Just the form and the force and what have you. Just learning, figuring out well. He has dialogue. How do you figure out, how do you deliver dialogue? You listen to the tone, and then you have the visor, and then you shift and turn and do according to what kind of play acting you could do with that.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. I mean, it's great, but it's interesting just to hear the story behind it. I don't know if you could tell, but this way, there's a little cutout Boba Fett I had. Whoops, sorry, my head.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think I got that, like,
I see him.
A Loot Crate box or something. I don't know if it's a bookend, a statue, whatever it's supposed to be, but I just keep it on top of some books there. So
cool.
I don't know how to turn now.
Yeah, I see him. I see him over your left shoulder.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's sitting on some Dungeons and Dragons stuff that I have.
Okay.
And just quickly speaking, because I really want to get into your comics. I just want to, you obviously you worked, with on Don Bluth's properties there.
Right.
With Space Ace and Dragon's Lair, were they the cartoons or the games you worked on?
I worked on both.
Oh, okay.
I worked on the video games, and then when Bluth went belly up, I wound up working at Ruby and Spears that did the Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, which was my first introduction to Dragon's Lair before I knew about the game, and when I found out it was a game, then I sucked at it. But it was.
I'm sorry for all your quarters.
It's okay, man. Look. It was fun, and the anime. It was like the best thing to look at in an arcade. You know, it just really was beautifully done. And
well, if you died, you saw my work.
I did that a lot. I did that a lot. And you know, just to mention, you know, the He-Man and She-Ra, since you worked on Filmation, just how long did you work on those? I
was there for what was it, 3.5 years, three and a half years at the. I worked on that. I worked on the feature unit. You know, trying to do a low budget, you know, feature films and what have you. So I worked there from about 1985 to 87 or 84. It was something along those lines.
Yeah. And again, we're going to get to your comics in a minute. Just with all the stuff that you've done animation wise, all the projects, is there anything you wish you could have continued longer on, or would have liked to have done differently, or a project you never worked on that you wanted to when you were an animator?
Okay. There are several other things. I really enjoyed working on Rock and Rule.
Okay. Yes, I know that.
I did Cindy the gal on roller skates, Officer Quad Hole, the police chief, and Mylar, the club owner. I enjoyed that. That was my, you know, I really enjoyed those characters and doing that. I really enjoyed doing the Batman commercials.
Yes.
You know, that you could see on YouTube. I really wished that what was his name? Brad Bird and Jerry Reese's Spirit, the Will Eisner Spirit, had been animated, because I was going to be on that.
Oh, really? That would have been great.
I was going to be on that.
Wow.
Yeah, so if they ever got the money to do that, but you know, talking about 1983, nobody thought that animation was worth anything. You know, no one makes any money, and it wasn't until maybe until Roger Rabbit, really, which is 88.
Is that it? 80? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So 5 years. It was just 5 years too early.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that happens. I mean,
that's what it is. But you know, again, it's, you know, you can't just say I wish I could have done, but I didn't. You know, and there's no way of. I did the best I could with what I had.
Yes. No, and you've had a great career. You've worked on a lot of things that have inspired people like me to work, like just going to He-Man and Dragon's Lair, two of my favorite things growing up, that it really inspired my love of fantasy. You know, I mean, I have my D&D stuff behind me because on Thursday nights right now, I do some work for a library. This Thursday is my last game with the kids at this library, but they're out from my bookshelf because I'm using them right now. But it's shows like that got me wanting to play D&D and explore fantasy and stuff. So, you know, you're one of the, you know, my childhood inspirations that helped build what I'm doing now. My Lord of the Rings poster, that's all because of this stuff, you know?
Well, I'd say if you, as an artist, especially if you are showing your work out, you know, and presenting, you never know who you might affect.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember writing a letter to Milt Kahl, who did Shere Khan,
Yeah.
Whatnot. I gave him. He had already left the Disney studio. He was retirement, and he was a major artist.
Yeah.
At Disney, and I sent him a letter thanking him and saying that I was inspired by his stuff, and he said that was the nicest letter he ever got, because hardly anybody ever sends letter to artists, and say thanks for doing that. So you don't know who you're going to affect,
Yeah,
and who and inspire.
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to thank you right now for everything that you've done for me. It's, people like you. I've had Tom Cook on here, who animated on He-Man and stuff, and great guy. Same thing that I've chatted with him about. There's so many that I think I know TV came a long time ago, but I really was a TV generation kid. And, before I got into comics, I saw everything on TV. The Flintstones, Super Friends, all that. Those were my introductions to funny cartoons, so whatever it was. And when I get to talk to people who worked on that, I know you guys are the reason I'm doing what I'm doing now. It wasn't just the characters. There was somebody behind it who wrote it, voiced it, drew it. There's so many, when you look at animation, so many people involved. I got to meet Jess Harnell, who voiced Wacko Warner on the Animaniacs, and I got to talk to him for a little bit, and I said kind of the same thing to him about thanking him, because it was the 90s. I was graduating high school, I was going to college, getting ready to go for animation, but it was the Animaniacs that really gave me my Looney Tunes era, gave me the humor that really helped develop my humor at that time. And I'm like, I don't think the drawings just did it. It was the voices that him and the rest were providing. So, it was the same thing. He's part of what I do now, and the humor and the kid-friendly stuff that I do. But tonight's not always about kid-friendly stuff.
No.
You got a comic out called Bloodwing Angel Chronicles, or the Bloodwing Angel Chronicles.
Right.
Now, can you tell us how that came to be? And we'll look at the Kickstarter page and everything.
Okay. Well, I originally wrote the concept. It was a novella that I wrote. It was during a very low point for me. It was about 2013, and I just kind of, you're familiar with the Book of Job?
A little bit.
The Old Testament. Okay,
it's been a while since I've read the Bible.
Well, but what I'm just saying is that it is a classic, thing. Yeah. And what it is Job is being put upon between God and Satan are playing a game on him. Like I'm saying, okay, this guy is really good, and Satan comes to God and says, okay, you are being put upon. This guy loves you because you're giving him blessings, and so God says, oh no, he'll never go away. And you can do anything you want to this guy, and he can't, and he won't go away from you. Well, I kind of felt that I played by the rules. And yet I really felt like everything was coming down crashing on me. So what I did was I wrote this novella about the smallest, youngest angel who was plucked from the choir and is a pawn in a cosmic chess game between Creatus, and Shadow.
Okay.
And so he's hurled into the world, and is transformed from an angel, ethereal being, into a semi-mortal. Okay. And in the process has wings and all that, but is also both male and female. So now is in a in this world, and where the world creation has been ripped apart because a promise has been broken. And so suddenly the universe is ripped apart and is momentarily and is restitched, but not in the way it was before. Okay. And so this is the whole thing of what has happened to the society that this angel finds him and herself, just Michael, and how and what is the sense of what this person understands as what is right and wrong, but now is in a place where everything is, there is no, it is all different.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the basic premise of this.
And when I and you have a Kickstarter coming out when on this? Do you know when?
Monday, March 1st.
Oh, March 1st. So that's Tuesday.
That's next week.
Yeah, next week. I think Tuesday.
Yeah.
And okay, number one, that's great. I actually, when you sent me a link today, and I signed up for when it launches.
Oh, okay.
This is something I try to contribute to as many indie comic stuff on Kickstarter and Indiegogo as possible. Money can get a little rough sometimes.
Yeah.
But when I see something that I'm like wowed by, and the I love your art style that I've seen for it, and the idea about it that I've seen on social media, you posting and stuff, just really has kind of intrigued me that I need to know. And the story that you just pitched me, fantastic. So with these characters, so you don't call them God and the devil, basically. It's the
shadow. Creatus and shadow,
which is fine. I mean, it works. I wrote a story years ago, and I call it the light and the darkness. That's just how I
mean, they have all. There's so many different ways, but I mean, why overthink it?
Yeah, exactly. But so you got that. You got Michael, which I noticed is spelt a little different.
Well, it's Michael, which is the way it is then biblically.
Oh, is that how it is? Biblically?
There is a Michael. Yeah, Michael is M-Y-C-H. A-L.
In the Bible.
Well, yeah, I've seen it in that way. I've changed it a little bit, Yeah.
Well, I spell my name A-E-L at the end.
Okay.
A-E-L. And it's actually just a quick funny story that you named your character Michael. When I was born, my the nurse asked my mom, "What are you naming your child?" She said Michael, and they were like, "Oh my God, don't you know about Michael?" And they're like, "They're supposed to be hell to raise." And there's supposed to be something with the Archangel Michael fighting the devil that makes us really difficult children. and I was the kid in the in the department store. You'd hear Michael, the tight lip Michael. That was my mom, and that's the name you heard in my generation always being yelled.
Oh, okay.
So.
No. I you know what, I think one of the things I'm trying to remember now why I went to that way. I think it's because Michael could be both male and female in the way it is used, and so you have Michael female, Michael male, and I think the M-Y-C-H-A-L I believe is for both.
Oh, I've never seen it spelt that way, but I will say this: when I built my first D&D character, I named him after me. I spelled it M-Y-K-E-L-L, Michael, and it was, and I just that's how I spelled it. So I've never seen it spelt that way till you spelt it.
Well, good. Okay, so at least I'm not calling him Superman.
Yeah. Yeah. So can we pull up the Kickstarter? I know we're going to look at it on your.
Okay, I'm going to do this share thing here. Yeah. Okay, share screen. And share, okay, I'm going to share screen here. Select the window.
And
let's just, okay. Yeah, okay, so let's do this. Let's see what this is.
And if you want, because I'm seeing the little icon here, before I add it, do you want to drag the screen over so it's covering the video?
Yeah, okay. Here's this here.
Okay.
Oh, the video we're talking there. Can you see? You see everything?
I see everything. I don't see us right now. Your screen of us. I see the video. So I'm going to add it now. Okay. And if you want to click to the full size,
Yeah, where am I here on this MICE? Yeah, you'll have to bear with me because I'm
okay.
just. Oh,
Oops.
Yeah, I'm back here on this one here.
Click back.
Oh yeah,
on
yeah,
here.
got it. Okay.
And click that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it the full screen. And once it takes up the full screen, you can hit play. Okay.
All right.
All right. There you go. Whenever you're ready.
All right. There you go.
Bloodwing Angel Chronicles. The adventures of Michael, an innocent angel who is unjustly banished to the mortal realm and battles to survive amongst demons, sinners, and living dead.
Okay.
All right. I will. Is there anything up there besides the video at the moment? Like, is there? You don't have the rewards posted or anything?
Oh yes, I do.
Oh, let's go through it. I'm going to give that the solo screen again. Let's talk about. Whoops, sorry. Let's talk about. Can you actually drag this out a little longer? So it's
Okay. Yeah. Let me just do this here.
Yeah.
Okay. I will roll up the to show you where the images are for what we have there. I mean, I can start rolling the images so you can see what the artwork is like. How's that?
Yeah, that's great. I'm already loving what I'm seeing. I was going to ask. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, people ask what is this aimed at, and who likes the series? Mm-hmm. It's like, if you, again, as I said, if you like mature action adventure, if you like heavy metal magazine, speculative fiction, supernatural heroes, mature stories, fantasy horror, dystopian fiction, and classic 2D animation.
That's a lot of people out there.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Now you notice I've got the pasties on her.
Yes. And they will not be appearing in the actual comic, I assume.
No, they won't. That was just purely for this.
Yeah, because I was going to ask. You had the part in the video where it said naughty bits, and I'm like, that's hysterical.
Yeah.
Is that staying in the comic, or is that?
No. That was purely, I mean, it makes no sense. I don't like the cutesy stuff of like, oh, I'm just going to wrap this hair around in a certain way so that you don't really see this. And, come on, let's face it. When you're born, that's the way it is. And if you're trying to survive, you're trying to survive. You're not worrying about that. In fact, if you remember the old Edgar Rice Burroughs, the John Carter from Mars and Tarzan, they were nude in the descriptions.
Yeah.
And so I say, listen, this is, if I'm going to be mature, I might as well let's not play cutesy with it. So let's just do it. And so this is what I've been doing. Is I'll roll this over so you can see the essence of what the images are like. Mm-hmm. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say. Originally, what I did was this was the first 50 pages of the entire book. I did as a web cartoon, and then that didn't go anywhere. So web comic, but so I just recolored things, Okay. And so now you'll notice on this one here, L&L Gift Shop. That was our religious gift shop in Brooklyn, but it was just the two letters L and L because my mother's name was Lena, and my aunt's name was Loretta, and so they were called L&L. It was a religious gift shop, and they sold chalices and priest vestments and whatnot. This is Brooklyn.
Number one, is this all done by hand, or is there? Yeah. Okay, so there's no like computer illustration, but computer colored, I assume.
Yes, computer colored. Yeah. No, I draw on. I use Blackwing pencils and some Japanese pencils.
Oh, lovable.
And then on animation bond paper, Ingram bond paper, very high quality paper.
Yeah, that's good
then
stuff.
I scan everything on my computer. I at 600 dots per inch, and then I high contrast the images, and then I put them into. I use a Clip Studio Paint to do this.
Yeah, I love Clip Studio. I use Photoshop a lot just because, business wise, and I've been using it since '95. It's like I can do it with my eyes closed, but I really love specifically the inking tools in Clip Studio Paint. I love them, and
yeah.
I think
I'm doing everything with pencil and paper, so I'm just going to stay with that because it gives a roughness to it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love it. I actually tend to do a lot not on animation paper, but just on photocopy paper, and instead of wasting the time scanning for me, I just snap it with my iPhone and airdrop it to my computer.
Right.
And then I just kind of lay everything out in Photoshop or Clip Studio, and that's when I ink and color through it. But yeah, I find that's an easier way for me to work. I love, because then I get that pencil feel that I enjoy. I like the traditional. It's more traditional.
Right. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Whatever the way you want to use your tools.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what we just rolled by are layouts that I did for episodes 3. Now I'm going to be doing I will go through this. These are the rewards that I get here.
Okay.
The first batch of this Kickstarter will have a 52-page color comic.
Okay.
And that'll have episodes 1 and 2. Now I'll do the digital copy is $5 for that, and then with the hardcover, it goes to $10 for that.
Okay.
And it's a 52-page book, and I can't. You just can't do both and shipping. So then there's the middle group, which is the $15 perk. It has I'm signing the hard copy, and then you get a mini poster.
Can I just hold on there for a second? I see you got something called the Flaming Finger Perk.
Yes.
Now I noticed in some of your drawings, your character Michael holds up the middle finger and fires whatever energy beams by just.
Well, that's the angelic sword. I mean, because of the circumstances being semi-mortal now, Michael cannot get the entire flaming, angelic sword, but it can only get the middle finger.
That's fantastic. I love that idea.
That's why we did. So I went with the thing. If you notice, I'll try and do this here: the angel perk, the bloodwing perk, the flaming finger perk, the demon slayer perk. Now this one will have everything. It'll have the poster, the signed copy, a baseball, a trading card, and a soft enamel pin.
Okay,
that's for $25 altogether.
That's not bad, actually. That's a really good deal.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then the Fire Fist perk is all of that plus an original Bloodwing Michael pencil sketch, which is about a 7 by 9 inches.
Okay, and how much is that one?
That's going to be $50.
Oh my God, you're like giving this away. I love it.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way: I want readers.
Yeah.
I want people to not feel like oh, I can't afford it. I'm not getting my money's worth.
Yeah. Because
this is an ongoing series.
Mm-hmm.
You've got episodes 1 and 2. And I've already done, I've completed episodes 3. I'm working on episodes 4. I've got, that's all done, ready. I'm working right into that. So I want to be able to do, as I'll roll this back up here. I want to be able to have it going for, let's see, shall I just get rid of this here? How do we do
don't close that out. You close that out. You leave the...
Okay.
If you want, I can stop sharing.
Okay.
I can remove this.
Okay.
So let's remove it. and go
Okay,
back.
there you go.
Yeah, there we are.
Okay, there you go. Hey, listen, I'm pretty good for 71 years old working with computers, but I can't. I just something right now. Unless I do it every day, I just can't get it right.
It's completely okay. I understand. I've been using computers my whole life, and there are things I forget regularly. So I was flipping out yesterday in Photoshop, like, why is this work? I'm like, oh, I'm not on the right layer. It's like
go.
first thing to check, and I'm clicking all these different buttons, and what am I supposed to do? So, but yeah, no. Hey, look, you're doing good. I like it.
Well, I'm hoping that the I know that the artwork is. I mean, again, I am not a realistic character. I also like the idea of trying to reach both men and women in terms of what kind of story. This is a story for both.
Yes.
And as I said, I'm trying to make the drawings and making the artwork and the perks just attainable.
Yeah.
And not over. I know that some people will do. Oh, why don't you do $100 one? Well, you know what? It's not going to do me any good. I would rather have people who want to read it.
Yeah.
And then feel like, okay, I've got everything. I got a nice little package.
Well, I'm saying, like, normally when I do a Kickstarter that I want to donate to, I usually, and because I donate to so much,
right.
I usually kind of stay in that $25 range.
Right.
But for $50, what you're offering is just fantastic. It's like for double the price, I get all that extra, and it's it's not like it's like I said, it's not a crazy amount. I feel like you're giving away, and you're right. You want to feel like people can afford it. Like, I feel I can donate $50 without an issue. I don't know if I can. That's usually kind of up to my bank account and my wife, but it's but it's something that is definitely doable.
Yeah, but you could do 15. Yeah. You could do 25. Exactly. That sort of thing, or 10. Again, that's the thing about it. I don't feel right about doing a 32-page book for $10.
Yeah, I understand that. Let me ask, why did you choose Kickstarter over Indiegogo? Because I know you have Indiegogo with some of your other products,
right?
That you
well, what it was, and this time around, I still have my in demand going on with Snuffy and Zoe. So I still have that already in there, and I can add. Say what I wanted to do is, I wanted to see if Kickstarter would be a different audience. I mean, you do both. I've done both. And sometimes I would start with one, and then some with the other. I would go. I'm switching back and forth. In this particular case, I did my rough sketch and the Snuffy and Zoe stuff with Kickstarter and so on and so forth. I want to keep this, I figure since I already have the Kickstarter, the Indiegogo is still alive. Once I do this, I could just, people who miss out or what have you, switch over and get it on in demand, and then just really ratchet up that acknowledgement, and just people can go to that already.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. I was just curious because I knew you have your Indiegogo already. So, and Tim Jones just tuned in, saying, "Hey, tuning in late." Which, we're almost coming to an end, I think. So sorry for tuning in, but Tim's actually been a guest. He does a comic strip called Sour Grapes. But Tim, as you know, you could rewatch this on Facebook about maybe 5 minutes after I close off this, and YouTube, it'll be up tomorrow because for some reason it needs almost 24 hours on YouTube. I don't know why. And Twitch, I have to remember to connect it to go, but it's going to be available as long as Facebook and YouTube exists. This video will exist, and you can always go back and watch it. I ain't leaving any of those anytime soon unless I'm forced to by YouTube or Facebook, and I don't think I'm breaking any rules. So I gotta say, I'm gonna wrap up in a moment, but number one, I've had a lot of fun chatting with you tonight. I definitely have to have you come back. Maybe when getting closer to the end of the Kickstarter, maybe we can have you on again. Get you some maybe last minute sales or whatever. But I there's so much I want to talk to you about, not just your comics, not just your animation back, but I'm sure just because of our background, there's so much we can just chat about, have so much in common. Me just throwing this out, I may have grown up in a different era than you did, but my influences are the people that you were mentioning. The only difference is in Superman, I was more of a Kurt Swan fan, and that's the thing. It's like I look back at the older artists than what most of the newer artists are doing. And one of the reasons I love looking at indie is because indie is all over the place. I look at public domain people, and they're looking at comics at the golden age and silver age that I love looking at, and inspired by those type of artists. And then we got someone like you who has such a great animation background. And I'm seeing, I'm looking at that and I'm seeing in my head, oh my God, this, like, I could see, even if I didn't know you were an animator, I could see the animation in your art.
Well, I think that's one of the things that I'm curious about, is that I can only draw that way, and that's my sense of storytelling. If it feels like you're watching, if you have no problems following, what the story that I'm telling, then no matter what style it is, it still is storytelling that's clear. And in motion pictures, you have to be clear.
Exactly.
So.
And I think that's that. I have a similar sensibility in how I tell stories because of that. I think it's the same thing. It's great. If I put you backstage in a moment, can you hang out for a few minutes before?
Sure,
okay,
absolutely.
Okay. Before I let you go, is there anything that we didn't cover, or anything you want to say that we didn't talk about, or just any last words?
Well, the last words is, I would like to get as big a boost on getting the Kickstarter going as much as possible. So whoever watches this show, in terms of the recordings and the afterwards, check out the website, take a look at it, and if you don't have the $5 or what have you for the PDF or what have you, pass it on. If you like it, pass it on, to somebody else.
Now, you guys, I'm about to put in the comments now. I hope this comes up for you. I'm pasting a link. Did it go in? Hold on.
No, I didn't see any.
It's not pasting. Give me 1 second. Let me recopy it. Okay. Select all, copy. This link is a link if it pastes. Why is it not pasting? Oh, I'm sorry. You know what the problem is? I have to do it on my laptop because the keyboard that I'm using, the batteries died on. So it did.
Hey, I'm 71. You're not.
I know. I just turned 45. So, but no. It's funny because I literally the second I hit go live, it said connection lost on my Bluetooth. So I'm pasting this in here into the comments, and
okay, there you go. I see that.
This will take you to, if you click on it, will take you to a page that will allow you to sign up and get notified when the Kickstarter launches. I already signed up. You're according to this, you got 21 followers already waiting on this. I'm hoping to get more from the audience I'm watching. But I want to thank you for coming on. I want to say thank you. I've been a fan since I saw your YouTube. I had to follow you. I love all the artwork I see when you post. It's just, I'm thrilled that I got the chance to chat with you, and I hope I get to do it again. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. Listen, there's a lot to talk about story-wise, and this is what I don't see in the comic book world. I don't see talking about story and about what your themes are and what we are trying to get across to people. I see a lot about, wow, that's a great pose, but I don't understand, where's their character? What is that thing that what's the magic all about?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because when I let you go, I was going to advertise on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. I do a stream called Storytelling Saturdays. I taught storytelling at a college for 16 years full time. I've done it longer and been a guest lecturer at places, but I basically developed the class for that college. It's all on visual storytelling, and that's really my favorite topic to talk about. So I go on each week and I give a different aspect, usually through comics, because that's what I like to do. Actually, Tim Jones was a guest on there because he does humor strips, multi-panel humor strips, like kind of Garfield style. So we talked about that and how to write. Mike Wilkie came on when we did single panel gags. Last week, I had my friend J.M. DeSantis come on and we did the Marvel method and talked about how that type of storytelling worked. And we did all this stuff. I have someone come on talking about storytelling with the use of public domain characters. But when I do all that stuff and I'm there alone, I'm really just talking about story and how story works, and I give tips on creating and all this stuff. And like you said, you feel stuff like that's missing. That's why I started streaming that stuff, because I love talking about it, and I feel it's important that people know about it. You know, I did a whole session just on books. You know, that helped me learn how to tell stories.
Oh yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
But yeah, again, I'm gonna put you backstage. I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for being a creator, for creating work that, you know, you do all ages, you do mature, you do it all. And I'm glad that you're out there producing and hitting markets that other people may not be thinking about, or just creating stuff for the markets that are out there. And I hope my show not only helps you get your Kickstarter, you know, funded, hopefully all of it, but, you know, at least some funded. But I hope people get to know about you, get to look you up on YouTube, on just a Google search, find you on social media, see the work that you've created, see the work that you've done, and the stuff that you're producing, and the stuff that is entertaining, and, you know, having the ability to entertain people in some way, make them forget their problems, is just a great gift. And you know, you being one of those people is fantastic.
Thank you for having me on, Michael. I enjoyed talking with you. That's great, and, you know, I look forward to talking to you, you know, the next time.
Yeah, thank you. I seriously, you're welcome back anytime. I'd love to have you on.
Okay.
All right. Great. Thanks. I'm going to put you backstage. Hang on for a moment. All right, guys. So that was a very fun show for me. I really enjoyed talking with John. Definitely check out his Kickstarter. Look him up. Like I said, his work is gorgeous. You saw what it was on the Kickstarter. He does have other things. If this topic isn't for you, he does have more kid-friendly family stuff. Just look it up. It's on Indiegogo. But the Bloodwing Angel Chronicles sounds hysterically funny, visually, story-wise. I don't know if it's supposed to be a humor strip. I didn't even ask him that, but it is definitely going to be entertaining, and I'm definitely going to donate. I hope you guys donate. Sign up with the link in there so you know when it's notified. You know when to sign up. You heard me already talk about my Saturday storytelling. Or Storytelling Saturdays. Come in this week. I'm doing all my reviews since I skipped it last week. I'm going to be reviewing comics, spotlighting web comics. And don't forget to tune in this Thursday to In Credit Chat, the show I also used to be on and maybe might be returning to in the future at some point. But In Credit Chat is going to have Paul Rugg on there. We all know Paul Rugg. I was on the last interview with him. He was creator of Freakazoid and all those great things. He's a great guy. Tune in Thursday on the Incredicon HV on Facebook. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys. Have a great week. Hope to see you on Saturday. All right. Bye, guys.